Hello there everybody and welcome to Wildlife episode number 9. I'm calling this one Never Stop Reaching. I started this spread with a desire to sit in contemplation with some questions that have been weighing on my heart. You'll see that there's a candle lit in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. That usually signifies that I'm working some kind of art magic, and in this case I'm wanting to come back to center within a space within myself where I know what's going on a little bit better than I did when I started. I'm working with my QOR paints and my Daniel Smith paints as well, and this is a palette that I built myself. I bought the tin on Amazon. I'll actually post the link below because it's super cute. They've got all sorts of different designs, and it comes with these magnetic strips that you can add to your little half pans, and then they stick in your palette. It's amazing. I love it. The process that I'm undertaking here in this painting is something I call watercolor meditation. I started doing this after doing a course with Flora Bowley called Creative Revolution. The link is below. She introduced all of us to a bunch of different ways to work with mediums in that class that was really freeing and really helped me to get my head around watercolor. And ever since that class, I have taken to doing these watercolor meditations where I just sit with the watercolors and then bleed them together while my mind is occupied with whatever it is that I'm questioning or contemplating. It's really, really relaxing, but it also allows my rational mind to kind of get out of the way. There's something very peaceful about it, something that quiets the monkey mind and lets me sit with the deeper questions that I might be asking myself at any given time. The colors that I'm using are ones I reach for all the time. There's a Quinacridone magenta here and a nickel azo gold and a green gold, and then as I continue I'll branch out the palette, but I just love these colors. These really make me happy and immediately make me take a nice deep breath and come into my body in a really lovely way. I'm working in that planner that I've talked to you guys about before, where when I finished a week of list slaying, I will cover the page with either watercolor paper or with scrapbook paper, and I will create a spread in that planner. So my hope is by the end of the year I will have one spread for each week of the year that was done kind of in the energy of the week, so it will be almost like a life documentation of a sort without being literal and having photos and captions. It will be more like an artistic snapshot of my inner landscape. So that's my hope for this project, and it's been really great to have that project because I always have something to voice over for you guys over here on Wildlife, whether you're on the free version on YouTube or the extended version over on Patreon. So this kind of contemplation is really magical for me. Doing this is something that I can really count on to help bring me back to center when I'm feeling a little bit disembodied or out of it. I can go into really stressed out places where all of my focus, all of my awareness comes up into my head. There's no wisdom in my head, I have to tell you. My head is pretty unwise. It tends to respond to things from a trauma perspective rather than from a sort of measured, tempered, wise place. So these kinds of activities that help me get back into my body are really, really crucial to me in my life and in my recovery from trauma. The questions that I'm having at this time of my life are all they're conundrums. There are no easy answers. There's no way to know with any kind of certainty what is going to come about or what's going to happen. So having a way to just sit with that uncertainty while I'm dropping color onto a page, I find really, really helpful. You'll see the way that these paints bleed together is just absolutely gorgeous. This is not something that I found with any other brand of watercolors. I've been really falling in love with the QORs for this reason, because of the way that they dance together in this particular way. There's a vibrancy to the paints as well, and the binder that you find in the QOR, which are a brand that's made by Golden, is different from most other watercolor, well, different from all other watercolor brands. Their binder is proprietary, and this is the only watercolor paint that uses this particular binder. Really, really gorgeous paints, vibrant colors, dries almost as vibrant as they go on, so they're super special, and I absolutely love them. The rest of this process is really just about being with whatever is on your mind in a very gentle way. I like to think of it as kind of like inquiring minds want to know, except that instead of my mind playing a role, it's more about the intuition that's rising up from the body. It's about the knowledge that we all have in our bones. There's a mantra that I like to use now and then, especially when the questions are really deep and really heavy, that goes something like, you already know the answer. And I really believe that to be true. The answers are always like right there at our fingertips. It's just that so much gets in the way of those answers, the mind chatter and the what everyone else thinks we should do. If we just drop into our own bodies and pay attention to what's going on in there, we can come to an understanding of what it is that we're meant to do. The answers are there, but sometimes the answers aren't necessarily the ones that we are wishing for. So, for example, sometimes the answer is wait and see. And that's kind of where I'm at in my personal journey right now. My answer, the only answer that makes sense, the only answer that brings me any sense of peace or resolution or a sense of, okay, this is the right track, is just wait and see. Just wait and see. Just flow with it, go with it, let it be what it is. Sit in the awareness that the answer will become clearer as time goes on, but in the meantime, it's just a wait and see kind of thing. So I did come to that through the process of creating this piece. You're going to see me use my own hand as a sort of a stencil in this piece. There was sort of a moment when I was doing the watercolor meditation where I realized that my whole being was reaching for a particular resolution, and I wanted to give myself permission to reach for that resolution. I wanted to give myself the space to be in that desire, to be in that longing for resolution. And the best way that I could think of to do that was to actually include a part of myself that for me represents openness and receptiveness and even longing. So I used my hand in this piece. And then all of this beautiful watercolor that bled together in the piece kind of disappears in the background, but not in a way that eliminates it. It adds depth to the piece without being the focal point of the piece. And I really, really enjoyed that. The stencil that I'm going to be using in this piece is also one of my favorites. I love the sort of feeling of what looks to me like river rocks or like pebbles on a beach. So I use the stencil a lot, and I often use it with gold paint because the look is just divine. And I worked a lot with contrasting colors in this piece, hoping to get sort of a snapshot of the pro and con stuff that was going on inside of me as I was working. I wanted to sort of represent how it can feel when we're weighing things, and there are sort of different understandings of where things can go. So you may be sitting with like one answer in one hand and one answer in the other hand, and they're really contrasting and paradoxical, and neither in the moment is like the absolute correct answer. They're just different answers and different paths we can take. So I used color to represent that in this piece. I'm having a pretty epic week over here. My daughter arrived for a visit from Alberta. She is currently sitting in the living room enjoying her morning coffee while I do my voiceover for this week's wildlife. I'm having such a wonderful time with her. She's obviously my daughter. She's cut from the same cloth as I am, and we've been having just the loveliest time hanging out, listening to music, harmonizing, podcasts. We went out for breakfast yesterday, went shopping for different teas and got matching cups, and we're both nerds in very much the same way. we're going to be having a gathering here tonight that I'm really looking forward to. So it's just a epic week. It's a gorgeous week. But that also means that it's an incredibly busy week, and I'm not wanting to be in my studio working all that much while she's here. So there is no extended version of Wildlife this week. There is some Patreon exclusive writing and some photos over in our feed for anyone $2 and above. The rest of this video is time-lapsed for all of y'all. And just a quick note, there will probably not be a Wildlife next week. I will be in Ottawa visiting with my other daughter, and so my youngest daughter and my eldest daughter will be hanging out in Ottawa together. I may get something up for you guys, but it won't be our usual fare. But you can expect that things will return to normal at the end of August, when all of the family visiting is done with and I am back to my usual normal routine. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. The rest of this is time-lapsed for you. And again, if you're on Patreon, please come join me for some Patreon exclusive musings and photos and other things. And I will see you guys all in all of our places. Lots of love. Bye-bye.